Hey, Alchemist. So, Brene Brown said something that I thought was very interesting. She said this about authenticity. Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. Now, I think that Brene Brown did something really remarkable when she started writing and publishing her books on dealing with shame. And that she showed us that vulnerability and authenticity, they go together, right? We can't have the authenticity without the vulnerability. But also, she showed us that our vulnerabilities are no longer necessarily a reason for us to get exiled from our community. Our vulnerabilities might actually be a connection point rather than automatic banishment from our tribe because we have different thoughts on things. Okay, so Brene Brown is really the one who got me thinking about being authentic. And I have a girlfriend, and she also talks to me about being authentic. And she was sharing one time how she could look back over the last year and see all the places where she had not shown up authentically. And that her goal was to really notice that over the coming year. And so I started asking myself, why was I inauthentic? Like, what situation would I be in where I was actually authentic? And then what situation where would I be inauthentic? And what I realized is that the situations where I felt safe, where we were all total like minds, there was the guarantee that there would be no hecklers, then I would share my true thoughts, right? I would be my true self. But if I found myself in a situation where I wasn't sure if I was safe, I wasn't sure I'd be accepted, and I wasn't positive there would be no hecklers, right? There was not a no heckler guarantee. I wouldn't be authentic. I would show up how I thought would just make me safe and make me fit in and just guarantee that people would like me. Okay? And so this is what I discovered about myself. Like, I would get into a like-minded community, and I would feel safe because we all agreed on everything. We had a like mind. And then if you're in a community that's not like-minded, well, then there could be hecklers, right? So what I realized is that authenticity, it doesn't just happen. We have to show up differently. We have to make the choice to show up and be real. We have to make the choice to be honest. And we have to make the choice to let our true selves be seen in spite of the hecklers. So today, I want to talk about some things that support us on our path to authenticity. And I want to talk about a character that we will, for sure, meet up with when we start living our lives authentically. Okay, so here's another quote I found from Adam Grant, and it's my favorite quote on authenticity right now. Authenticity means erasing the gap between what you firmly believe inside and what you reveal to the outside world. Okay? So, if we want to be authentic, there's the starting point. We look at this. Are we revealing what we believe inside to the outside world? Or are we watering it down? Are we filtering it to be safe? Right? So to reveal what's in here, out into the world, we have to be honest, right? We got to be honest with ourselves. And so living in our truth, being honest with ourselves is the first step, I'm thinking, in moving toward authenticity. But when I say living our truth, I'm not just talking about our belief system, sharing our belief system. I am talking about being honest with ourselves about who we really are and where we come from. I'm talking about our divine nature. Okay, I'm talking about how we are each an emanation of source energy. Okay, we are each an individuated soul using a body to have an experience on this planet right now. Now that is unchangeable, right? The truth of who you are is unchangeable. Now what is changeable is our current belief systems, right? I don't know about you, but you know, when I was in my 20s, I believed certain things that I just don't believe now. Okay? I changed my mind about my belief systems. All right? And so a lot of us do that as we grow older and wiser, as we learn more things, we have more experiences, we change our mind about things. But this universal truth of who you are, right? That you are an individuated soul, you are an emanation of divine source, right? That God is all things, and that means you, right? God is all things, and that means each of us, every person. This is unchangeable. So, but think about this. It can be scary to share our beliefs. It can be scary to share the things that are important to us. People may not like our thoughts. People may not like us. And at this point, when we are sharing something from our heart, this is the point where we could actually experience being exiled into the wilderness. Okay? That's what Brene Brown says. Like we can get lost, we can get booted out into the wilderness. We can feel like we're in the wilderness when we're the only one who believes like we believe, and we don't have a sense of being connected, through welcoming hearts to people around us. Now, what makes our belief system easier to share is knowing who we really are, right? An individuated soul, right? We are an individuated soul. We are the expression of source. So when we know this about ourselves, it makes it easier to share the vulnerable parts of us. Okay? So we live in our truth, and this helps to clarify our beliefs, because when we know who we really are, that we are an individuated soul, then we look at our environment differently. And so now we're living in our truth. It's necessary to authenticity, and this will lead to the second thing I want to talk about, living in our purpose. Now, as I said that living in our truth, I was talking about the unchangeable aspect of our truth, the spiritual truth or the universal truth. When I talk about living in our purpose, I am also talking about something that is unchangeable, and that's our soul's purpose. Now, I know we talk a lot in the spiritual community. We talk a lot about purpose, right? And there is like different kinds of purpose we can have while we're walking around on this planet, while we're participating in Playground Earth, right? We can have all kinds of different purposes. Our calling can change from season to season, right? Once my calling was to be a rock star, and then my calling was to be a mom. And then now my calling is to, be a rock star, right? So, no, but really, I love what I do. And so that part has changed over the years, right? Over these years walking on this planet. But our unchanging purpose will call our soul's purpose. Now, our soul's purpose is to be the presence of the divine, because we are the presence of the divine. Right? We are the activity of God walking around on this planet. And as we embody unity consciousness, or you call it Christ consciousness, as we embody this all are one consciousness, we automatically will make choices that honor the divine within ourselves and within others. So we're living our life in a different way. We are remembering who we are, right? An individuated soul. And we're living from that spark. Now, that means that all the energy we pour into our life is the most divinely charged energy. It's like becoming a chef who only utilizes the most high quality ingredients. All right? And all free of seed oils and all of that, processed stuff, right? And that's what happens to us when we remember who we really are, right? We live in our truth and we live in our purpose. We are living from our divine spark. And we're calling forth that divine essence into our life. That's our purpose, right? So this also gives us more clarity. We get more clarity, even more clarity. We are less defensive and more accepting. We are less judgmental and more discerning. We become welcoming. We have a welcoming heart. We don't have to belong to a like-minded group, right? Instead, we can be in a welcoming heart kind of community, right? And there's nothing wrong with being in a like-minded group. But just remember, when you are in a like-minded group, if you change your mind, you may not be welcome to the community anymore. Now, a community that is just an open, welcoming, open-hearted community, it doesn't matter how you eat, vote, pray, parent, because that level of belief system is really kind of insignificant when it comes to our connections, right? That won't be our connection point because, again, belief systems are changeable, right? So when we are living in our truth and we are living in our purpose, right, now we really can connect with other people in a sense of true belonging, like a heart-centered belonging. Okay, so we live in our truth, we live in our purpose, but now we have to do something else. We have to take responsibility, right? We have to be honest to be in our truth. We have to be honest about things, right? We have to be honest to be in our purpose. And the thing is that to live in our truth, live in our purpose, this is not about waiting for conditions to be perfect, right? Not about waiting for a heckler-free environment. Living in our truth, living in our purpose, it just means we take responsibility to remind ourselves of our truth and our purpose and why we're doing all of this. Right? Taking responsibility means we understand that this heart of ours is ours to shine. Our gifts, our talents, the things we want to bring into this world are ours to shine. Right? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. The light is ours to shine. It's our responsibility. Now, when we can honestly say, okay, yeah, this light is mine to shine. It's mine. It's all mine, baby. All this is mine to shine. Well, now we are standing in our authority. Okay, we stand in our authority. But now, when we get to a point where we are leveling up and we are standing in our authority and we take responsibility to live in our truth and live in our purpose, we're going to meet a character whose sole existence is to help us master and up-leveling continually, living in our truth and living in our purpose. And this character is called the petty tyrant. Now I've been calling it the heckler, right, so far too. The petty tyrant I first heard of in a book by Carlos Castaneda, right, The Teachings of Don Juan. And Don Juan, teaching Carlos Castaneda shamanism, says that facing a petty tyrant is what strengthens the warrior, right? Because the warrior has to face this resistance. They have to decide to stand in their truth and stand in their purpose. Now, Don Juan also describes a warrior, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase this, but because you might be thinking, well, I'm not a warrior. I don't want to worry about this stuff, okay? But see, this is how Don Juan describes a warrior. Somebody who's honest, somebody who is in integrity with their life, with their heart, with their soul, and they live in their purpose, and they take responsibility. They're not waiting for somebody else to do all this for them. They're not waiting for somebody to recognize, right, their divine origins. What is a warrior? A warrior is us, okay? A warrior is us. And so the heckler or the petty tyrant gives us the opportunity to prove ourselves. Right? The petty tyrant confronts our belief system, right? And so contemporary petty tyrants I just call it the heckler. You can call it the heckler, the petty tyrant. But they usually confront our belief system with this vibe of, who do you think you are? Well, who do you think you are? Now, the heckler can be either a voice in our head, who do you think you are trying to try this new thing? Or it can actually be a person in our lives, right? Somebody shows up and they start heckling you, like doing that, like, who do you think you are to you, right? When you're trying to share something. But see, all the petty tyrant is hoping for is that we'll react to them. We'll react because that will knock us out of our authority, right? Reaction is not the same as responding. Reaction happens automatically. So if we're not conscious and in our truth, right, we could end up reacting. So they knock us out of our authority when we react. They want us to step back and bend down to the status quo, conform with society, right? They don't want us to shine, because if we shine, what happens? We end up being an example of what can be done. And the petty tyrant will show up every single time we up-level our game. Every time we've proven ourselves and we think, whoa, okay, I did that, right? We start up-leveling and then they're back. They're back every single time, right? And again, they just want to confront our belief system because they want us to be willing, right, to show, right? Well, actually, they want us to fail, but it's our opportunity to be in integrity and say, yeah, I'm willing to live and die by this belief, right? Every time we face our heckler, we demonstrate our willingness to be out of our comfort zone and in integrity to prove ourselves. The heckler also teaches us not to take things personally or make assumptions anymore, right? That's something else the heckler teaches us. So I have an experience with a heckler, and this was in a class I taught like maybe 2014. And it's kind of this kind of stuff, but I hadn't really deeply embodied it yet. I was a little shaky, but when I would give talks, it was usually people who already liked me. They already liked my talks, and I felt like I was in a heckler-free environment until this one night. I'm giving this talk, and one of the gals who came, she brought a heckler. She brought a heckler, and I knew it right off the bat because she was wearing a t-shirt that was all about like really conservative religious beliefs, and you know, really that's fine because I don't even care about that, right? When you have somebody who's a loving, open-hearted person, any kind of religious practice they have is going to look like a most wonderful practice, right? But this gal was a heckler, okay? I'm just saying. Okay, so I was giving this talk and talking about how the divine is within us. We align with the divine within. There's that within us. It knows what to do, how to do it. It compels us to act on what it knows, right? All that. And then toward the end of the class, she says, or you do this. You just hand it all over to Jesus. You just give yourself to Jesus and let Jesus take care of all your problems, right? And we just have to be saved, and we have to just believe that Jesus will take care of us. And I said, oh, right. Yeah, sure. And she knocked me right out of my authority. I was not in my authority. I backed down. Because at the time I did not, and I still don't, right? I believe that the spiritual authority is within us, right? The divine source authority is within us. I believe Yeshua was a brilliant, loving, really enlightened teacher. And we are so lucky to have his teachings, for sure. But in that moment, I didn't win this gal over, for sure. I didn't win over the heckler. She was just like, so there, right? But I also lost everybody else in the room. They were just like, well, what is Deanna doing? Why isn't Deanna saying anything, right? What's wrong? See, I wasn't in my authority though. So I backed down. I was afraid. Now, I did have an experience with a heckler And while it was happening, it was not fun. But afterwards, it like gave me the best story. And I had been in, as some of you know, I was a holistic healer for 20 years. And I had been doing massage therapy for 3 years. And I was speaking for a group called Amputees Are Able. And they just wanted somebody to come in there and talk about the benefits of massage. Well, I knew the benefits of massage. Like I was living the benefits of massage. I was doing massage all week long, right? Worked in a chiropractic office. And so I was up for it. And I didn't even need to have notes or anything, right? I show up for this group and I am so ready to give this talk. And it was a good sized group. And I was not used to doing any public speaking though. Okay, so I was really scared. So I get up in front of this group and start talking about massage. And I get this heckler, and he's like this creepy dude. Okay, he's like, "Hey, baby, yeah, I'd like some massage later." And I was horrified, absolutely horrified. He just kept saying really inappropriate things like that. So I was really horrified. I was surprised. But I was not tempted to back down because I was in my authority. So I asked him to come to the front of the room, sit up there in front of all those people with me, and I massaged his neck and shoulders while I gave the rest of my talk. And I'll tell you, like 10 minutes later, he was my biggest fan, okay? But that was because I was in my authority. I was in my authority. Authenticity. It is a choice that we have to make every day. And I will tell you, on the days I did not make that choice, I did not feel so good about myself. Okay? So, as best I can, I choose to be authentic. And I still meet hecklers. You know, I still do. I still meet hecklers. Okay? Brene Brown says this: if you trade your authenticity for safety, you may experience the following: anxiety, depression, eating disorders, addiction, rage, blame, resentment, and inexplicable grief. In my years of seeking safety over authenticity, I have experienced all of those things. So, here is our call to action for this week. First of all, here's our affirmation. I stand in my truth and I live by my truth, right? Let's say it. I'll say it one more time so we can say it together. I stand in my truth and I live by my truth, right? To living in our truth, living in our purpose, and then we're taking responsibility, we will end up facing the petty tyrant, right? Or our heckler. But what we're learning is that this life is ours to shine. Now, because we take responsibility and it is our responsibility to live in our truth and live in our purpose. Nobody's going to do it for us, but nobody can take it away either. Okay, nobody can take it away. So I just want to add that being authentic, it is not just about sharing our deep truths or our stories or our belief system. Being authentic is also about sharing our gifts. It is about sharing the things that mean something to us, the things that we love to contribute to the world. It's our activities. It is our choices. Being authentic is when we follow our heart. If we want to try something new, we want to explore, we want to get curious. Over the pandemic, I was part of an online community where we would meet on Zoom once a month. And every single month, this guy would show up with his guitar and he would say, "Hey, I have a guitar. I would like to open us up with a song." And I was always like, wow, I want to do that. Like, I want to play a song, for everybody. But then I was like, oh, but they never asked me. They don't invite me. They don't like me. They must not want me to sing for them. They're probably thinking, oh my God, please don't let Deanna show up and sing here. What I had to realize is that it was my responsibility to put myself out there. I don't think any of them knew. Well, actually, none of them knew I sang because Finally, one meeting, I show up on that Zoom call early. I have my guitar, and as soon as like the head person like greets me and says, "Hey," I say, "Hey, I have my guitar. I would like to open us up with a song." And they let me do it. They were like, "Oh, that'd be great. We didn't know you played." So they didn't know. See, that song was mine to shine, my responsibility. Okay, my responsibility. So, all the things that we love that matter, right? They're our responsibility to shine, right? It's up to us to be authentic so that we are putting those things out into the world. So here's our invitation for this week. I know at some point you might hit a spot during the week where you might be thinking, gosh, I'm not feeling so great about how I'm showing up, right? Am I waiting for conditions to be perfect, right? Am I waiting for this the package of my life to look a certain way, or am I waiting to be in a certain group of people before I live my truth and live my purpose? And if the answer to that question is yes, right? If you feel like, oh gosh, am I having some trouble here? If the answer to that question is yes, ask this question. Am I afraid of facing a heckler? Am I afraid of facing the petty tyrant? And probably your answer will be yes, right? And so then you can just start at step 1. Live in your truth. God is all things. And that means me, right? Say, God is all things, and that means me. God is all things, and that means me. And my ideas, and my gifts and talents, and the inspiration to do something, that is all from divine source. Then we live in our purpose, which is to be the presence of God, because we are the presence of God, right? To embody the unity consciousness, the Christ consciousness, so that we make choices that honor the divine within us and within others. And we take responsibility, right? This light is mine to shine. This light is mine to shine. This is mine. This life is mine to shine. Okay? And I am here to live from my divine spark. I'm here to call forth more of that divine out into my life. Right? We are in charge of all of this. It is ours. It is ours to shine. And this is how we are creating heaven on earth. And so remember, until next time, that you are designed to be doing all of this stuff. You are. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.